87% of realtors that get into the business get out of the business after 2 years. That does not exist in our world.
We have massive visions around growing our businesses, and we are always looking to add talent to our world. We do everything in our power to ensure the people we surround ourselves with defy the odds, get into production, and build massive lives for themselves.
We have interviewed some of the top realtors in the world. If you're a new realtor, a top producer, or CEO of a mega team, Sales Beast Podcast is your blueprint for success.
With locations all across Canada, reach out to us to talk about partnership and opportunities. We are looking forward to it.
Yes, I'm the boss. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Sales Beast Podcast. We are here today with the one and only Kate Broddick out of Brantford. She's the #1 realtor in Brantford and has been for many, many years. So, Kate, welcome. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, I should have figured out how to wear some headphones. You look much cooler than me, but I'm not that techie, so
you're being polite. I look like a bit of a loser. I'll share what these are for anyone that these increase my conversion booking appointments significantly. They're called Jabras, and they're 100% noise canceling. So you can literally, in their advertisements, they run a Vitamix beside the headphones, and the person on the other line can't hear it at all.
Really? I was going to put my ear pods on, but then I'm like, I don't know how to connect that to my computer. So I was just like, that stresses me out. So I can sell a house, but I can't deal with technology. So
there you go. So I understand you're probably super busy. So I want to squeeze as much juice as possible out of the short amount of time we have with you. I'll explain to everyone listening what I just explained to you. So when I got in the business, I heard your name over and over and over again. People in our office and clients or people I met in the field that were looking to sell their homes. No, Mike, we don't want to work with you. We want to work with Kate. And through a friend of mine, I got to know a little bit about who you are. Now, when I look at what you've done, you've been in the business for that long. You've been at it for 11 years, and for 9 of those years, you've put a top agent in your marketplace. I think when we get into the business, we have these high hopes, big dreams, big aspirations, and most of us realize it's a lot harder than maybe expected it to be. And then most of us get out of the business within 18 months. I think 80% of us do that.
Wow.
Yes. Most people don't go down the path that you've gone down, as you know. How did you do it? Let's say the one thing
that's the secret sauce, right?
Yeah, if you could boil it down to one thing that people could apply to their businesses to get a similar result.
It's a little bit of a twofold here, and I actually just spoke about this at Revel Tip-Off. It's the first time I took a stage and kind of dove into my own business plan. And the one thing that I can say, because I am no better at selling real estate than anyone in my marketplace. I actually came into Brantford knowing nobody, didn't know the city, wasn't from the city, and in 3 years became #1. So the question, that I always get asked, well, how did you do it? And I am the most consistent person you will ever meet. And that sounds so simple, but if you create a business plan and you consistently execute tasks every day, and you reevaluate on a monthly basis, and you reevaluate on a quarterly basis, and you level up those tasks and you scale them as you grow consistently, that is what will get you sales. And the one thing that I can tell you that most agents don't have is a business plan. They throw a bunch of contacts in their phone, and every once in a while, they'll send them a text, send them a gift card, send them a newsletter. But you need to have a business plan with all 5 pillars within your business broken down into a system and then a process. You need to quantify that, and you need to consistently execute it. And that really is the secret to scaling as fast as I did. You cannot beat someone who does not stop.
Okay. So let's unpack that. I'm sure people have some questions right now. So have a business plan, and then execute on that business plan. You mentioned something about 5 pillars, which I'd like to get into that.
Yeah.
Or for new agent Kate starting 11 years ago, what did that business plan look like?
Well, I broke it down into what were the departments. So those would be your pillars, right? Every business has departments. Why doesn't real estate? So you've got your marketing and advertising, you've got your lead generation, you've got your client follow-up, you've got your administrative tasks, and you've got your closing the transaction and follow up afterward. So within those 5 departments, you need to have daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly tasks that you can follow up with and you need to track. So for instance, the top 3 are the most common, right? So marketing and advertising, lead generation, client follow-up. So under marketing and advertising department, you have to treat that like a department. So what are the systems that you're going to do with that? So say you're going to do 3 social media posts a week. Well, you need to break that down into processes. What are those 3 social media posts you're going to do? You don't want to have to wake up and start trying to guess what you're going to do that day. You need to have it time blocked. You need to have the what, the why, and the how all figured out in your business plan. And you need to execute that. That's just for social media. Maybe now you're going to do mailers. Maybe once a month you're going to do mailers. You're going to target a certain neighborhood. So, on this day, every month you're sending out this message through a mailer and you're going to execute it. The why, the what, the how. So you need to build out these systems within each department in a calendar on a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis, and you need to follow that business plan. And then you need to reevaluate every month. How many appointments am I getting? How many appointments am I actually transacting from? And then you need to scale that. So if I'm doing 10 listing appointments in a month and I'm only getting 2 listings, well, what do I need to do to get 10 sales versus 2? So then you 10 times that. And you have to constantly reevaluate. And that's what agents don't do. They fly by the seat of their pants. I have this is actually going to be my 12th year. I have 12 business plans. Every year I evaluate it. Every single year. And every single year I get my team to do that in November. We business plan together. And it holds you accountable, because if you have no roadmap to accountability, then how can you re-strategize and reevaluate that to improve, and how do you scale?
Yeah.
And most people don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I would say 99% of agents that I talk to think I'm absolutely off my rocker.
I would say to them, the path is in the math and they should try it.
Yeah.
It's really, I coach with a guy out of Detroit. His name is Jeff Glover. And that's one thing he taught me. He always tells me, Mike, it's a contact sport, real estate. So we're looking to build our team here. We have, I don't know, 13, 14 agents at this point. So he always asks, how many contacts do you need to make in a month to book X number of appointments? How many appointments do you need to go on to sign X listings? And how many pieces of business you get off each listing? And then you build out, then you have the agent population you need in order to move forward and get to your goal. And it really is just a math problem. And I see it over and over again. I was just at Keller Williams family reunion in Vegas a couple of weeks ago, and they have these mega panels. If you were at Keller Williams, you would have been on one of those mega panels. And verbatim out of each of their mouths was the same thing: know your math. And once you know your math, you just show up and execute on it. It's so simple.
It is simple, but it takes consistency, and that's why I go back to that. So you need to consistently do the things every single day that you have to do in order to get to where you want to be. And you cannot scale what you do not track.
Mm-hmm.
If I ask an agent, how many calls do you make in a day? Well, 30 before noon. You need to know how many calls you need to do in order to make a certain number of buyer appointments, a certain number of listing appointments. And from those, you need to know how many you need to actually turn into a listing or a purchase in order to get your monthly goal. You need to know these numbers, and you need to have absolutely perfect follow-up. And I say that because most people don't track their follow-up. They have a CRM that they throw people in there, but they do nothing with it. And for me, the second I talk to someone, I'm immediately scheduling their next follow-up. I never talk to anybody without scheduling a follow-up. And even if I don't have much to say, I'll move that follow-up to the following week. Every single person is in my follow-up calendar. Every single person gets touched a certain way, whether it be by phone, by text, by mailer, by card, by, video drop in a newsletter. And you need to have unique ways of doing that, so it's not the same thing. You need to understand what it is that you're going to say to your clients, and your follow-up has to be perfect. You need to never let anybody slip through the cracks.
For sure. I'm a big believer as a leader, you need to inspect what you expect. And often agents on teams or agents in general, they they overestimate the amount of work they're doing. So you go talk to John. John, how many calls did you make this morning? I know the standard is to do 30 before noon. And he'll say, I did 30. And in his brain, he'll believe he did 30. But when
Yeah,
you check follow-up boss or whatever CRM you're using, no, John, you did 10.
that's right.
What what accountability systems exist on your team to ensure people are doing the work required to get to whatever their goals are?
See, and this is actually a funny question because when we get too rigid in our expectations, we actually feel that people get a little bit claustrophobic because everyone's goals may be different. And I've learned to embrace that. I'm a big believer that if your success goal is to do 10 transactions, then that's you gaining success because that was what your goal is. If your success goal is to do 30 transactions, you're obviously going to do more than what the person is who wants the success goal of 10. And so the accountability we really do put onto the agents in terms of how they want to run their business, but we do touch points with them to make sure that they have the tools and resources that they need. I have a full staff that does everything from inside sales, which helps with the, cold and dead leads on anyone's CRM, which are people that often get let through the cracks because they're not answering. They're about as cold as an iceberg, right? So it's hard to focus your attention on that when you've got, say, 10, 15 warm, hot buyers and sellers that you really want to devote your time to. So I've allowed for systems to be put in the form of administration and the back end so that we can help them with that so that they can focus on the people that are pretty much ready to transact within the next 30 to 90 days. Inside sales, social media, obviously, our website, and any kind of content that's being put out by the agents, whether it's blogs or newsletters, client care and concierge. So making sure we're following up with our current clients so that while, the agents are out on their appointments, we're still kind of not, I don't want to say coddling them, we'll say nurturing them to make sure that we're still there and we're actively engaging with them. But in terms of the accountability, we have a lot of sales meetings, one every month, which doesn't seem like it's too much, but we do like little activities to get their brains stirring so that they're not falling behind every 30 days. And
Gotcha.
I will sit down with them and I will talk with them one-on-one. But I have people who, honestly, if you look at their disc profile, which I'm really big on personality profiling because it will tell you a lot about a person and how they're going to conduct their business. I have some people who are just like high I and they are out there and they are hustling and they're doing the transactions, but they absolutely suck at administrative tasks and their CRM is a mess. So we've
Hmm.
tried to really delegate more onto our inside sales so that they can kind of help make those notes and keep the clients up to date and making sure that we have their files all in order because they're shining what they do best. But if we're going to spend so much time harping on them for, inputs in their CRM, it's going to frustrate them. Let them shine and let us help you with the things that you're not great at. You know what I
I
mean?
absolutely love that.
Well, I mean, there's so many team leads that will say, you don't want to do it my way. Well, then we don't need you here. Well, everyone does things differently. So why not set up a team that helps nurture and cultivate your strengths and help with the things that maybe you're not as great at? So then you can shine with that because not everyone is administrative based. I would actually say a lot of agents are more high eye on the disc. They're more out there, big personalities. They love to shake hands and kiss babies. They're good at the gift of gab, but they absolutely suck at administrative work. So why not help them?
Yeah,
Right. And
that makes so
encourage them to strengthen in that area, but why frustrate them? We're independent contractors. If you're on a team member on a team, you're still independent, right? So why not try to nurture the things that they're not as great at?
for sure. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that before. It makes a lot of sense.
It does though,
I
right?
find most team leaders try and fit every single agent into the same box. They run their business like a factory.
Yeah, and I've tried. I'll admit I've tried it because that's what I was told to do from coaching, and I completely disagreed with it because
Hmm.
I don't believe that everyone does business the same way. I think that we need to cultivate our genius for each agent in their own individual way and help guide them in the things that they're maybe not as great while still encouraging them. Might be a slower burn to get them to where they need to be, but at least it's keeping the lines of communication open, and it's getting them out there and making deals rather than sitting them behind a computer doing something they absolutely hate. Right?
Love that. I can tell just by speaking to you, you're not your typical salesperson. You're a leader and you're well educated in the space. You mentioned coaching. What are some of the other things you've done to build your leadership and evolve from salesperson to the leader you are of your organization today?
I am not a salesperson. You're right. I just happen to do well with people, and that creates sales. I'm really big into mindset work. I'm really big into self development. I look at everything as an intrinsic journey to get from point A to point B, and how do you help as many people along the way while doing it? I love to see people grow. I think I find my most joy in watching the people that have been with me for 7, 8 years turn into these beautiful mothers, these wonderful friends and colleagues, these more developed human beings, both personally and professionally. And I think that when you try to evolve as a person and try to help others evolve as people, the success comes along the way. So I haven't really done a whole lot in terms of coaching in that way, other than my own like Reiki and mindset coaching that I had with actually Kathleen Black. My coach Marissa was more of that mindset work with me, and I love that stuff because if you're not right inside, you can't be right outside. And then just going in and doing a lot more involvement in conferences and speaking engagements and talking about things that really drive me. And I'll tell you right now, like sales drive me from a business perspective, but it doesn't as a personal perspective. If I could do what I love doing every day, it would not be just selling houses. It would be working with people, but it would also be educating people.
Mm-hmm. We had a guy on our podcast. You ever heard of the company Livian? It's a big expansion network in the States.
No, no.
No, his name is Adam Author, and you would never think he was a realtor. He sounds like a philosopher. Um, but at one point in time, like all of us, he was a real estate salesperson. He went very, very hard at it, sacrificed his family, and neglected certain aspects of his life that he shouldn't have. And he got all the money he could have ever desired by the time I think he was 25 years old. And he had this massive shift. I think it was a result of his children. And today, when you speak to him, his quote is, "Business is a conduit for your personal development." And I really believe that. And I see it with so many people, if they have the right mindset, they go through this evolution. And in the beginning, it's desperation. I need to sell a house to put food on the table. And
Yes.
then once the money's there, it's not fulfilling anymore. Now I need to show someone else how to build the skill that I just built for myself so they can live the same awesome life I'm living today. And it keeps evolving, evolving, and evolving. So how did I assume you didn't show up day one as a salesperson and plan on building this great organization, helping all these people around you. What was your thought when you first got into real estate? Do you just want to sell a lot of homes, or do you have a bigger vision?
I had a bigger vision. I don't think I understood that that would come to fruition as quickly as what it did. But I had a vision of actually building a business and not just being a realtor. I wanted to be impactful, whether that be from a branding, a marketing, like just an overall like team leader, which I didn't expect to become so quickly. But my business took off so fast. Within 3 years, I was hitting over 7 figures and just skyrocketing quick, really fast. But I didn't think that I would take my career to this point where I would be speaking on stages and I would be asked to educate those on how I got there. And that sort of evolved into, why do I want to go here? And it became more of an inner joy that I found in more than just selling houses, in creating a business that can really work into the gaps of your life rather than being your life, and having that balance. I mean, I have 3 small boys. My oldest is going to be 10 and a half. My youngest is going to be 5 in April. So I've been pregnant, birthing, breastfeeding, and raising kids my entire career. So it's
Mhm.
been a whirlwind of a decade. And I've had a lot of lows in that, a lot of emotional stress, just from being a mom, and that feeling of like, what way do I go with this? Because I'm so busy, but my kids are young, and like, how do I manage life? How do I manage myself? And then I found this inner joy of being able to have what I think is have it all, being able to be happy in your personal life, be able to be a wonderful mother, be able to service your clients, be able to enjoy your career again. And that was like this over the last 10 years. And it's been like the last couple of years where I've really found that, wow, this works, you know? And it always came back to running it as a business and not just selling real estate. It was setting boundaries within your own business plan and within your own schedule so that you can have the joy where you could be making $5 million a year, and you could be so burnt out that you don't even have time to do anything with it. Money isn't the be all and end all of life, but opportunities to create income while balancing your life, or, balancing your life. There's going to be peaks and valleys in that, where you can actually enjoy life. And now you're working to live, not living to work. Right.
Yeah.
So, and it is a journey. And I think people have to go through that. They have to go through the muck to realize that you can have millions of dollars and sell your butt off and create this big conglomerate, team, and have this wonderful brand. But on the, backside of that, you're miserable and it's not really working. You're barely getting through. It doesn't have to be that way. And it doesn't have to be a reflection of just that you're great. You could be amazing in sales, but also be amazing in your personal life too. There can be somewhat of a balance.
It's a
So
thought I've had at times. My business partner has no kids. I have 2 little boys, 4 and 2. And I've wondered, is he at an advantage, or can he squeeze more out of the days, weeks, years than I can, because I have to spend time with my family, or I want a relationship with them. And I've realized over the years the the kids actually, I think, make you more efficient, and they give you. I have many whys in my life. They're one of them.
yeah,
But there's a driving force. There's a reason I show up every day.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, they're almost like a superpower, having children. I wouldn't be surprised if your
it
success
is.
wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the 3 boys.
I mean, everything I do is for them, and that's not just a cliche saying. It really is. Everything I'm building is building with them because they're a part of my life, and building for them because I would love a legacy to leave to them, for them to say like, hey, listen, we can do this too. It takes hard work. It takes some trial and error. But I mean, then I think to myself, would I want to be that person who doesn't have children, but that just means I'm working an extra 5 hours a day, grinding it out? Where's the personal satisfaction and joy? Once again, it comes back to the dollars aren't everything in life. If you're working to live rather, or living to work, you have to ask yourself that question, right? We have a very small time on this planet, not to get too deep, but it goes by like that. I'm going to be 41 next week. What? Like, I feel like I'm 25. Sometimes act like it. But 41, I was in my 20s when I started in this business. And now I'm through one decade and into another. So it's you got to ask yourself, like, maybe you're not able to do those extra transactions, but think of all the joy and fulfillment that come from dedicating that time to your boys. And boys are the best, by the way. I 3 boys,
They're
they're
a lot
all,
of fun.
oh
Yeah,
yeah, they're crazy and they're lots of energy, but they are the best.
for sure. I think too, some people, like, there's you ask yourself, who's the best business person in the world? And everyone have a different answer. Some people would say Elon Musk, some would say Steve Jobs, if he's still here. And regardless of what name you list, they all have the exact same amount of time in a day that
Mhm.
we have. Some of them are workaholics, but there are a lot of very successful people that aren't workaholics.
Yeah.
There's this thing I heard a while ago, work expands the time allotted to it.
Oh,
So when I was in university, I was the guy that I wouldn't study at all. I would have the test the next day and I'd study the night before and I get it done. Um, and sometimes if I'm going on vacation, the day before my vacation is the most productive time.
yeah.
Like you can make the day before a vacation every single day and really be efficient and purposeful about how you use your time and get way more done and be home by 5 or 6 o'clock with your family and get way further ahead than everyone else around. It seems like that's what you've done.
You know what? There's a reason why I get up at the crack of dawn, Monday to Friday, because I have uninterrupted time from between 4 and 7 in the morning where my children are restfully sleeping and I can be scheduling emails and planning out my day and making sure that I have everything just so. Then I can go to the gym. Well, my gym is in the house because I have small kids, but I can work out from 7 to 8 o'clock. Still have time to do breakfast, pack lunch, get the kids off, and then from 3:20 or 8:50 to 3:30, it's like I've already had more done before everyone got up out of bed. And now I can schedule appointments and I time block evenings that I don't work, as in I don't have appointments to leave to. I have a licensed assistant that she can do the showings on that day if our client needs it. They know that we're a team, and it's all about the balance. At the end of the day, it's about showing up for everything that's in front of you 100% rather than having your mind 10% into 10 different things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about focused time and time blocking and consistency, and it really does work. I know some agents on my team, they are more night owls. So they're incredibly productive from say 9 to midnight because their kids go to bed. That works for them too. Me personally, I like to be in bed by 9 or 9:30, but that's because I'm getting up at 4. But it's all about working it around your schedule and being honest with yourself on what you're going to do consistently and the time that you're allocating these tasks that are in your business plan that you've set out on a weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly basis. When are you going to execute them? And if you really put your personal life into the mix of that, because your why is usually your personal, but your goal is how are you going to get there, then if you intertwine the two of them and be honest with yourself on what you're capable of doing without taking too much from one to give to the other, you can map this. It's like a timetable.
Yeah. There's a book I'm reading right now. It's called The One Thing. Read it before, but I try and read it once a year. And it's just about focusing on that one thing that will move your life forward. So the
Yeah.
question is, what's the one thing, such as doing it, everything else becomes irrelevant or unimportant? And there was a chapter on time blocking, and the author was saying, time block your personal life first. And one of the things we all like in our personal life, I would assume, are vacations.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of the year, time block your vacations, commit to them, and you're just sprinting in between your vacations. I thought it
That's
was
right.
an
I
interesting
know
concept.
this book already, and I haven't even read it. I'm a big believer. If you look at my calendar, my personal stuff is in there. And I'm not talking about like hair and nail appointments. I'm talking about time blocked time with my kids or time that I'm going to be away, or what my workouts are always time blocked. And you need to put them in there and treat them as if it's an appointment, because they're just, if not more important for your own personal growth and development, to fill your cup so you can go and fill someone else's, which is our clients, our teams, our brokerage, whatever it may be. So I agree. And we do this every year with the girls and 2 guys now. Put your personal stuff in there and work around it, because the number one thing that agents do is they burn out. They get exhausted. They feel like they're unbalanced in their lives, especially ones as they start to see their career develop. And if you can keep to that system of dedicating the time as moms, because moms get mom guilt a lot. And I have a lot of women on my team, and I say, time block your kids' stuff in there. Don't miss out on that. And everything else, if it was a listing appointment, you wouldn't be stressed, right? Because it's like, nope, I'm sorry, I'm in this appointment, so I'll have to get back to you. Treat that as an appointment. If a client calls you, send them a message. I'm just in an appointment. I'll call you back at 8, right? There's ways to get around that one taking from the other.
Absolutely. I think when I look back on my career, I was very much like you. I'm not from Hamilton, I'm from Halifax. So I showed up here, I knew nobody. And I was coming from a place of desperation. I was very much turn and burn. So like in my first year, I worked with 50 people and never spoke to them again. And people kept telling me, work your database, Mike, love on your people. And in my head, I think my limiting belief was I don't have any people here. So I would sell their house, not talk to them, then go find the next one, sell their house, not talk to them again. And when I think if you ask me to do something enough times, eventually I'll clue in. When I clued into that, I realized the business is so much more fun and it's more efficient. To sell X homes today takes a lot less time than it did for me in the beginning because I'm working with friends and past clients.
And you're
I
scaling.
think, yeah. And I think that's probably one of the best ways to get your time back. Since year one in the business, I work like a dog. I haven't really worked weekends since, unless it's a choice. I think you can really, and you're proof of this, you can really make this business whatever you want it to be, and you can make your hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars within a reasonable work schedule.
Yes, you can. And, I'm not going to say that I was perfect at that, in years probably 3 to 7. There was a lot. I mean, I was having babies, like all of my kids were in that time frame, and I had to have trial and error. But the lessons I learned, I am so grateful for them because it made me reevaluate my whole business plan on what do I really want out of this. And as that slowly evolved over time, and I would say the last 2 years especially, I've realized that one, I don't need to do all the transactions to have a good living. Two, my personal time means more to me than the time spent on my business. So I need to work to make sure I have that, and it needs to be really allocated in my schedule. And 3, you can really make this career what you want it to be. It doesn't have to be just selling homes. It can be, having a brand recognition, having some influence on, a big stage where you're educating, collaborating with others, doing podcasts. Like there's so many things that you can really do in this business that may not always drive sales, but maybe it adds to personal fulfillment. And that to me is a well-rounded career. A career, not a job. It's a well-rounded career.
Mm-hmm. I think in this business or any business, there's always going to be someone that has done what you want to accomplish in the future. You want to be a realtor that makes $10 million a year, they're out there. If you want to be a realtor that makes $10 million a year, that doesn't work on weekends, that has 3 little boys, takes excellent care of them, that person exists. It's just up to us to go find that person and somehow get in their world. And I think the step a lot of us miss is the add value piece.
Yes.
So everyone wants Kate to help them get to where they want to go, but what's in it for Kate is the piece that gets missed.
Yeah.
I had a very good experience when I got in the business, and the 2 mentors I had took excellent care of me, to the point where I wondered why are these guys treating me so well? This is amazing. Where I came from in corporate, they didn't care about me at all. It was just a number. And now I show up here and they love me, they take care of me, they help me. One, they were great people. And I got lucky there. But 2, I made them a shitload of money in a very short period of time because I sold a lot of houses.
Yeah.
If you do that, if you were to enter your team and really dedicate yourself, work your tail off, and help move the business forward, I'm sure your people get all of you.
Yeah, but I also think you said something very important there. You just gave so much grace and gratitude and respect to the 2 people that gave you the time and attention, even though you made them a shitload of money. But you acknowledge that it was them being great mentors that helped facilitate that. I find with a lot of new agents, they look at it like, well, I could keep all this money myself, right? And sure, you could, but don't forget where you came from and the education you've been given and the time that's been granted and given to you, the skills that have been developed through other people to give to you. And you gave that gratitude to your mentors. I think one of the things that gets me is when new agents come in and the splits are usually higher because it's a lot of training and a lot of work and a lot of phone calls and a lot of like hand holding for probably the first year at least. And there's no gratitude there for all the time spent. Whereas maybe had they started out on their own and just been like, here, go figure this out, they may not understand how hard it is rather than someone just giving you their business plan and saying, this is what you need to do. So you being as grateful as you are or appear to be right now for your mentors is a big reason why you also succeeded. You came in with a very open mind and a lot of gratitude.
I think part of it is what you just said. I came with not a ton, but some life experience. I sat in a cubicle for 3 years and looked at the clock every single day, counting down until I could get out of there. And I see agents that have maybe tried it on their own, fallen on their face, come to us. And the level of gratitude from people that have life experience somewhere else or life experience in our business, maybe they didn't get the result they wanted, versus a new agent that joins us at 20 years old that has never done anything other than their education up until that point. The level of gratitude is vastly different. I think sometimes they don't realize how good they have it. Like in a system like yours, your client care is handled. You don't broker load anything. You're in an environment where people support you and they love on you and they pick you up when you fall down. The right team is an incredible platform.
Yeah.
On which you can grow your business.
Yeah, that's very much an abundant mindset though, right? And it comes with a lot of, like I said, grace and gratitude. And I think that if everyone showed up into this business rather than saying, well, I could have kept all this money, I did the work. Well, but did you have the knowledge to get it done had you just done it yourself, right? So it's a full spectrum. There's lots of mindsets in this business. I love the team that I have. I think the agents on there are so grateful and they work hard. They hold themselves accountable, and I love that. Everyone makes mistakes, myself included. Learning from them is the whole point of making a mistake. It's not because, oh man, I made that mistake. It's like, okay, you know what? Now I know for next time, and I'm going to change. I'm going to course correct this. And now I'm going to, further level up in my business in this particular area. So it's all about the people you surround yourself with. And I'm a big believer in that.
One of my mentors, her name is Lorraine Jordan. She's out of Midland, and she's a big team. They do 300-400 ends a year. She sells 100 a year. And I was asking her, so when we go to these events in America, you meet some realtors and they'll sell 250 units a year. That's absurd. How do they do that? And when you look under the hood, their price point's 250 grand a year. So they have to sell 250 in order to earn what we would earn up here selling 50.
Yeah.
And then my head goes to Toronto. Why does everyone in Toronto only sell 5 homes a year? Or down here, like an average agent can do 15 without too much trouble. And I think as the price points go up, some of us take the pressure off. Now we can only sell 5 and make as much money as I used to be able to make by selling 15.
Yeah.
And that's always been my mindset. So I don't know if you know Sandy McKay.
I do. Yes.
Okay, so Sandy's my
yes.
Yeah, so he's my business partner. I met him off his podcast many years ago. And when I showed up, I knew nothing about selling homes. I just knew I wanted to work with Sandy. And I didn't know there was a split. So I was counting how much money I thought I could make. I wanted to make 200 grand my first year. And I thought I had to do 20 deals because there was no split in my mind. And when I showed up, he told me what the split was. And I'd be lying if I didn't say there was a minute of disappointment. But
Of
you just
course.
redo that math. Instead of having to sell 20 to get my 200 grand, now I have to sell 50. Game on, let's go.
Yeah.
I, I think if more people had that attitude, what do I need to do to hit my goal versus how little can I do to get what I want? They get so much further ahead.
Oh, and it's just a better way to live. It's better to live and I'm not saying, this optimism that, is blanketing any kind of like unrealistic expectations, but I mean, it's just a much more forward thinking way of doing your business rather than complaining about the things that you don't want to have to do to get to the goals that you really don't want to have to make, but you set them, but you're not really sure, like, oh God, I don't want to do this. How much more positive is like, okay, well then I have to do this and I'm ready to do it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
absolutely.
love that. I do. I love that.
Anyways, I know we're running out of time. I want to thank you so much for
Uh,
joining me today. I've been watching you from a distance for a long time. It's nice to finally get to know you a little bit.
yeah,
And
you too.
yeah, I wish you all the best in 2024. Hopefully we cross paths in real life someday.
Yeah, maybe who knows? Hamilton's just down the street. So
Yeah, for sure.
yes, you take care. Thanks again for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
Every day I'm hustling, every day I'm hustling, every day I'm hustling, every day I'm